On the night of February 19, 2026, in Milan, Italy, Alysa Liu landed her final jump, held her finishing pose, and became the first American woman to win individual Olympic figure skating gold in 24 years. The arena exploded. Her father screamed in the stands. Her 4 siblings jumped out of their seats. And somewhere in the back of every sports business manager's mind across the country, a calculator started running. Because that is what an Olympic gold medal does. It does not just change an athlete's legacy. It changes their bank account. It changes what brands will pay. It changes the entire financial trajectory of what comes next. So what is Alysa Liu actually worth right now? And how did she get here financially? Because the honest answer, which almost nobody tells fully, starts not with sponsorship deals or prize money. It starts with a bill. A very large bill that her father paid for years before any of this was possible. Let's start at the beginning. Because if you want to understand what Alysa Liu's net worth actually means, you first have to understand what it cost to create an Olympic champion in figure skating, which is one of the most financially demanding sports in the entire world. Figure skating is not like football or basketball, where kids with talent can develop through free school programs and public parks. It requires private ice time, which is expensive. It requires individual coaching, which is expensive. It requires custom-made costumes for every program, each one costing anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000. It requires choreographers, music editors, physical therapists, sports psychologists. It requires constant travel to competitions across the country and eventually across the world. International flights, hotels, entry fees. When Alysa Liu was competing seriously as a teenager, her father Arthur, a single dad, an immigration attorney in the Bay Area, was spending roughly $150,000 a year to keep her training and competing. That is not a typo. $150,000 per year. For multiple years, Arthur has said, without any hesitation, I spared no money, no time. Think about what that actually means. This is a man who came to America with nothing, having fled China as a political refugee after Tiananmen Square. He put himself through UC Law School. He built a practice from the ground up. He used surrogacy to have 5 children as a single father. And then he turned around and invested every dollar he could into his eldest daughter's gift. Before there was a single Nike deal, before there was a single Toyota commercial, before there was a single check from US Figure Skating, there was Arthur Liu writing a check for $150,000 a year and believing in something he could see on the ice that the rest of the world had not yet discovered. That is where the net worth story actually starts. Now let's talk about what figure skating actually pays, because this is where most people are genuinely surprised. Figure skating is an Olympic sport. One of the most watched sports in the world during the Winter Games. The kind of sport that fills arenas and generates massive television ratings. And the prize money at most elite competitions is immodest, by the standards of what most people imagine for that level of achievement. At the US Figure Skating Championships, the prize money for first place is typically between $15,000 and $25,000. That sounds reasonable until you remember that the training costs to get to that point are anywhere from $50,000 to $200,000 a year. At the ISU Grand Prix events, the major international series prize money is higher. A first-place finish at a Grand Prix final pays $60,000. A World Championship gold pays $65,000. These are the big-ticket events. And they still do not come close to covering what it costs to compete at that level. When Alysa Liu won the US title at 13, she earned prize money that represented a fraction of what had been spent that year alone to make the title possible. This is why endorsements matter so much in figure skating. This is why corporate sponsorships are not just a nice bonus for top skaters, they are what make the economics survivable for the families who invest in developing them. Alysa Liu's endorsement story started young, which makes sense given how young she made history. At 13, After winning the U.S. title and landing on the cover of International Figure Skating magazine, she was named to the inaugural Time 100 Next list, the 100 most promising next-generation leaders across every field. The write-up was by Michelle Kwan herself, the same skater whose legend had sent Arthur Liu to that Oakland rink with his 5-year-old daughter in the first place. That is a full circle that you could not write if you tried. The attention after that was significant. She appeared on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. She showed up at the Kids' Choice Awards. Sports Illustrated featured her. Elle magazine featured her. Time magazine featured her. She was 14 years old and she was everywhere. The first major corporate deal came in December 2020, when Toyota added her to their Team Toyota roster of sponsored athletes. Toyota partners with Olympic athletes as part of their global sponsorship of the Olympic Games, so this was a meaningful signal they were betting on her as a future Olympic face. Then came American Girl, the toy company with the iconic dolls that generations of American girls grew up loving. They signed Alysa ahead of the 2022 Beijing Olympics as one of their brand partners. And Ralph Lauren, whose team designs the official Team USA opening ceremony uniforms, personally chose Alysa as one of the athletes to model the collection when he unveiled it. She was 16. She had Toyota, American Girl, and Ralph Lauren. Before she had an Olympic medal. Then she retired. And here is where the financial story gets genuinely interesting. Because for most athletes, stepping away from competition for 2 years would mean stepping away from earning potential. Sponsors move on. Relevance fades. The algorithm forgets you. But Alysa was different. During her time away, she did not disappear from public life entirely. She maintained her social media presence. She studied psychology at UCLA. She climbed to Everest Base Camp. She was visible, interesting, and likable in ways that brands look for not just as an athlete, but as a personality. The 2 years away may actually have kept her fresher and more relatable in the public eye than if she had ground through the circuit and burned out visibly. When she came back in 2024, the brands came back too. Heading into the 2026 Milan Olympics, she signed partnerships with Nike, one of the most valuable athletic endorsement relationships that exists anywhere in sports, and with Samsung Galaxy. Both companies attached themselves to her as she built toward these games. She also appeared in a Gillette Venus commercial. She is represented by Yuki Sagusa at IMG, one of the premier sports management agencies in the world. Nike plus Samsung plus IMG. That combination, at 20 years old, is significant. That is not the portfolio of someone who got lucky. That is the portfolio of someone who is being managed strategically as a long-term brand asset. So what is she actually worth? Here is the honest answer. The numbers vary depending on who you ask, and most of the figures floating around online are outdated or based on the period before her comeback. Celebrity net worth sites had her listed anywhere from $400,000 at the low end to $5 million at the high end before the 2026 Games. The wide range reflects how difficult it is to value an athlete whose earning power changes dramatically based on competitive performance. But here is what we know concretely. She has multiple active corporate sponsorships: Nike, Samsung, Toyota, Gillette Venus, that collectively represent hundreds of thousands of dollars at minimum, and potentially into the millions annually depending on deal structures. She earns competition prize money from the Grand Prix circuit and major championships. She earns appearance fees from ice shows and exhibitions. She earns from media appearances and licensing. She is managed by IMG, which means her deals are structured professionally with future earning potential in mind. And as of February 19, 2026, she is an Olympic gold medalist. That last part changes everything. An Olympic gold medal, especially in a sport as globally visible as figure skating, especially after a 24-year American drought, especially paired with a backstory this compelling, is worth millions in future earning potential. Brands that were not previously in the conversation will now be. Speaking fees go up. Media deals become available. Skating tours become lucrative. International markets open. The U.S. Olympic Committee also provides a cash bonus to gold medalists, $37,500 per gold medal won. That goes directly to the athlete. She won 2 gold medals at these games, the team event and the individual women's event. That is $75,000 in direct government bonus money on top of everything else. Now put all of that in context. Because what makes Alysa Liu's money story genuinely different from most athletes is not the dollar amounts. It is the trajectory. Her father spent $150,000 a year building something. He did not have a guarantee. He did not have a promise. He had a 5-year-old girl at the Oakland Ice Center who was better at this than seemed humanly possible, and he bet everything on it. And the return on that investment, measured purely financially, is now in motion. The endorsement deals. The gold medal bonuses. The IMG representation. The Nike partnership. The global visibility from these games. The fact that she is 20 years old and has at minimum another decade of competitive and post-competitive earning power ahead of her. The financial story of Alysa Liu is not really about what she is worth today. It is about what she is worth from today forward. And the foundation built in a 1-bedroom apartment with 3 bunk beds and a single dad who said he spared no money, no time has never been more solid than it is right now. And here is the detail that will stick with you. The International Skating Union pays $65,000 for a World Championship gold medal. For what is objectively one of the most technically demanding athletic achievements on the planet. Less than the yearly cost of training to win it. Figure skating has always been a sport where the love of it had to be bigger than the money in it. Where the families who produced champions often spent far more than they ever got back. Where the math only ever worked out for the very few who made it all the way to the top and then translated that excellence into endorsement value on the other side. Arthur Liu did the math 20 years ago in a small apartment in the Bay Area. He looked at a 5-year-old girl landing jumps like it was nothing and he decided the math worked. On the night of February 19, 2026, with her gold medal catching the light in Milan and her whole family screaming in the stands, it turned out he was right.